What's the best AeroPress recipe out there? No doubt it is the one that you like, but every year World AeroPress Championship Finals is the place where the one and only recipe gets to the top and win the trophy. In this video we want to take a guess on what will be 2021 winning recipe like. Yes, 2021 because due to COVID-19 and lockdown in Australia where the event should take place, the finals were postponed to 2022. Now, we have been making videos about the AeroPress recipe since 2015, featuring many champions like Lukáš Zahradník, Filip Kucharczyk, Paulina Mička or Wendelin van Bunik. It was Filip back in 2016 that changed the trajectory of the competition. His recipe calls for a high dose of coffee, about 35 grams, coarse grind size, small amount of water. Essentially, he brewed a coffee concentrate that he diluted with an extra water. Ever since this moment, all the following champions use a variation of this bypass recipe. Here is the problem. Even if this coffee tastes amazing, most people don't want to use twice or 3 times more coffee than usual to brew a cup. It's a recipe to win the championship, but not the one to be used every day. To address that, team at World AeroPress Championship decided to adjust the rules. As stated in rule number 6 now, competitors might use a maximum of 18 grams of roasted coffee in their recipe. Also, competitors have 5 minutes and need to prepare at least 150 milliliters of brewed coffee. So, it makes the end of the proven bypass coffee concentrate recipes. But what's next? We asked Tomo to prepare 2 AeroPress recipes that follow the new rules. One similar to Alan Adler's original recipe, brewing a concentrate and then diluting it with an extra water, and one more traditional brewing. Then we will taste it, compare it and make a guess. 3, 2, 1.
So we are gonna brew the recipe number 1. In this recipe we are using 15 grams of coffee. It's ground a little bit finer than for small V60. With Comandante grinder it's around 19 clicks. Then we fill it up with the hot water, which is heated to 92 degrees. And wait for 40 seconds. Meanwhile, you can rinse the paper filter if you like. After that, we stir it around 6 to 8 times to make sure all the coffee is saturated evenly and drops to the bottom where it's steeping. Then we put the cap on the top of the AeroPress and wait until 1 minute and 40 seconds. At that time, you start pressing slowly and should finish brewing at 2 minutes and 15 seconds. So the first coffee is done. And now we're gonna brew the second recipe with bypass. We are using again 15 grams of coffee, but this time we'll pour only 75 grams of hot water. Then stir 4 to 6 times to make sure it's evenly saturated. After 1.5 minutes, we turn the AeroPress and press slowly until 1 minute 55, which should be the end brew time. So the concentrate is ready and now we have to dilute it by 80 grams of water and the coffee is ready. Here's the second coffee.
Now that you know the recipes, we brew both of them side by side and the whole crew picked the favorite. Coffee is ready. Three, 2, 1. Okay. So now we know, so that it will be bypass again.
I was quite surprised that all of us decided for 1 cup, and this time it was the yellow. Yellow was prepared by bypass. So let me explain what's the difference in the taste so you can imagine. This brew is very sweet, has very nice body, very pleasant floral and peachy flavors. This cup is much more fruitier and bolder and has a higher intensity in the beginning, like it's burst with the flavors. and on the other hand, the body is a little bit thinner, it's more juicy. The coffee we were brewing, it's Wash Ethiopia, Idido, from Yirgashev region, and the Bypass was a clear winner in this competition. I think the main reason behind it is because it helps the coffee shine more. It increases the acidity, the juiciness, and the boldness, the intensity of the flavors. So in the beginning you have this burst of flavors, it's super juicy, super fresh, and much more pleasant. Also, another reason why I think it won today is maybe we have a very similar taste preferences in our team, and we all like fruity and juicy coffees. But I don't think the other cup was bad at all. There were also advantages, and there were few that I think it would win over the other cup, and those were mainly it had higher sweetness and it had better body. It was more syrupy and round, and actually complemented the sweetness and the florality of this cup more. And the last point where the Bypass won is that it creates less bitterness or any hint of some chocolate or like coffee-like flavors. I think it's because of the brew ratio and the saturation of the coffee. So you may ask, what is our opinion? What might the next World AeroPress Champion's recipe be? If I would have to bet, I would bet the winning recipe will be used by the Bypass. And I think it's because in the competition of AeroPress, it's about the coffee skills, but it's also about fun. And to choose a cup that's more interesting, that's more fruity and perhaps more shining than the other cups, usually the Bypass version is a clear winner. If we were to score both of the cups, like in the Brewers Cup competition, I think it will be much harder, and the other standard recipe could win as well. You can prove me wrong. I'm looking forward to know the next World Champion's recipe and to try it.
Okay, so if you get it that far, you are a real AeroPress fan. So before I wrap it up, I want to mention something special that we created a few years ago. It's called AeroPress Movie. It's a full documentary about the story of the AeroPress, and you can watch it by clicking in the link in the description. So thank you and have a fun brewing AeroPress. Cheers.